It started one night with Margaret, age 72, staring up at the ceiling. Her bedside clock blinked 2:37 a.m. She had been lying there for hours, shifting gently under the covers, mind racing. Margaret had always been a light sleeper, but lately it was worse. Her joints ached, her mind churned, and every small sound outside seemed amplified in the stillness of the night. She was desperate for a solution. She tried herbal teas. She tried white noise machines. She even reluctantly added a mild sleep aid her doctor recommended, but the grogginess in the morning was almost worse than the sleeplessness itself. So when I suggested something unexpected during one of our private sessions, her eyes widened. "Margaret," I said gently, "have you ever considered that part of your sleeplessness might be tied to touch? To release? To the simple, often overlooked act of self-pleasure?" Her cheeks flushed slightly. She glanced away, half laughing, half embarrassed. "Oh, doctor," she whispered, "that's not something women my age talk about. But here's the truth, maybe we should. Because Margaret is not alone. Every year, thousands of seniors struggle with restless nights, shallow sleep, and early waking, and many never hear that one of the most natural, accessible tools to improve sleep quality is something they've quietly stopped allowing themselves: masturbation. Let me tell you why. Masturbation triggers a complex symphony of physical and chemical processes in the body. When you stimulate yourself, not frantically, not distractedly, but intentionally, gently, you engage multiple systems: the nervous system, the circulatory system, the endocrine system. Your heart rate increases, blood vessels dilate, muscles tense, and, most importantly, the brain releases a cascade of neurochemicals. Among these are dopamine, oxytocin, prolactin, and serotonin. What makes this particularly relevant for sleep is the role of prolactin. After orgasm, prolactin levels spike significantly. This hormone is directly associated with feelings of satisfaction, calm, and, yes, sleepiness. In younger people, this is often brushed aside as postcoital drowsiness. But in older adults, where natural prolactin cycles may have declined, this sudden hormonal boost can be a potent trigger for deep, restorative sleep. Margaret didn't know any of this. She thought her restless nights were just part of aging. She'd never connected her sleep problems to the absence of touch, of release, of that intimate self-connection she had quietly put away decades ago. So we talked. We reframed the idea of masturbation, not as something shameful, not as something childish, but as a wellness practice, a sleep aid, a form of gentle, self-directed care. We talked about creating a calm, private space. About approaching her body without judgment or expectation. About exploring not just climax, but relaxation, breath, and presence. A few weeks later, Margaret came back to see me. She looked softer. That's the best word I can use. Her eyes were brighter, her voice calmer. And she smiled when she told me, "I never thought I'd say this, but you were right. I'm sleeping through the night for the first time in years." That, my friend, is the surprising truth. That masturbation, far from being a frivolous or awkward topic for seniors, is actually a key part of the body's natural sleep regulation system. And when we ignore it, when we cut ourselves off from touch, from release, from pleasure, we may be unknowingly cutting ourselves off from one of the most accessible, effective tools we have for rest and recovery. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, isn't this just a physical thing? Doesn't sleep come down to melatonin, circadian rhythms, or other purely biological factors? Yes, those play a role. But here's what's often missed: sexual release impacts every one of those systems. It lowers cortisol, the primary stress hormone. It increases oxytocin, which not only promotes feelings of trust and bonding but also has a calming, sedative effect on the body. It regulates heart rate and blood pressure, easing the transition into sleep. And perhaps most importantly, it sends a powerful signal to the brain that the body has reached a state of satisfaction, of completion, allowing the nervous system to relax fully into deep rest. Margaret wasn't alone. I've seen this pattern in many patients. Arthur, 78, a retired teacher, had struggled with insomnia for years after his wife passed. He assumed it was grief, and yes, part of it was. But when we gently explored his sense of disconnection from his own body, he realized he had not only lost his partner, he had lost the habit of touching himself, of being present with his own physical sensations. When Arthur began integrating self-pleasure back into his evening routine, not as a frantic release, but as a mindful practice, his sleep improved. Not overnight, not magically, but gradually, steadily, his body relearned how to relax into the safety and softness of sleep. This is what we'll explore more deeply in the next part of the video. We'll look at the specific biological mechanisms behind why masturbation aids sleep in older adults. We'll talk about the emotional roadblocks many seniors face, from shame to disconnection to physical limitations, and how to navigate them gently and compassionately. And we'll begin to chart a path for how you can reclaim this practice, not as something embarrassing or hidden, but as a beautiful, valid, and healing part of your life. Because you deserve rest. You deserve peace. And you deserve to know that your body, no matter its age, still holds the keys to its own comfort and renewal. Stay with me, because the next part of this journey may change not just how you think about sleep, but how you think about yourself. When we last left off, we were beginning to open the door to a truth many older adults have never been told, that their own bodies still carry the tools for deep, restorative sleep, and that masturbation is not simply about pleasure or release, but about unlocking chemical pathways in the brain and body that prepare you for rest. Let's unpack that a little more, because once you understand what's happening inside, you start to realize how much power you actually hold in your own hands, literally and figuratively. You see, one of the most overlooked players in the sleep story is oxytocin. This hormone, often called the love hormone, is released in significant amounts during sexual arousal and orgasm. It's what makes you feel bonded after intimacy, what calms anxiety, what softens the emotional edges of a long, hard day. Oxytocin is a natural sedative, not the heavy-handed kind you get from medication, but the gentle, enveloping kind that tells your brain, you're safe. You can let go now. For older adults, whose oxytocin levels may naturally decline over time due to changes in social contact, loss of a partner, or reduced sexual activity, this self-produced hormone becomes even more important. Masturbation offers a natural, accessible way to stimulate oxytocin release, easing the body into a state where sleep becomes not just possible, but inviting. Then there's prolactin, which spikes dramatically after orgasm. This hormone plays a direct role in signaling the brain to shift gears, to downregulate arousal, to move from wakefulness towards sleep. It's why many people, young and old, feel drowsy or relaxed after sexual release. But here's what matters. In older adults, where sleep quality often diminishes due to hormonal changes, this prolactin surge can be an essential reset button, helping recalibrate the brain's sleep-wake cycle. I remember working with Dennis, a 76-year-old widower who told me he hadn't had a good night's sleep in over a decade. He had tried everything, warm baths, meditation, even sleeping pills. Nothing worked. But as we talked, it became clear that Dennis hadn't just lost his partner, he had lost his connection to his own body. He saw masturbation as something from his past, something unnecessary, maybe even inappropriate at his age. When it gently encouraged him to rethink that narrative, to see self-pleasure as part of a broader wellness practice, something shifted. He started small, just exploring sensation without rushing, without pressure. And within weeks, he reported something remarkable. I'm not just falling asleep faster, he said. I'm waking up feeling rested, for the first time in years. That's because the body, when allowed to engage fully in its own cycles of tension and release, finds its way back to balance. But let's be honest, for many seniors, the road to reclaiming this practice isn't just biological. It's emotional. There's the shame, the lifelong message that masturbation is taboo, something to hide, something childish or sinful. There's the grief, the quiet sorrow of lost partnerships, lost touch, lost vitality. And there's the physical reality, the arthritis, the joint pain, the reduced flexibility, the medications that dampen libido or sensation. I want to speak to all of that, because none of it means you can't access this part of yourself. If shame is your barrier, start here, remind yourself that your body is yours. That pleasure, comfort, and self-connection are not privileges of the young, they are human rights. That touching yourself is not an act of immaturity, but of maturity, a conscious choice to care for yourself in a deep, personal way. If grief is your barrier, be gentle. It's okay to feel sadness. It's okay to miss what was. But remember, masturbation is not a betrayal of the past. It's a gift to the present. It's a way of saying, I am still here. I am still worth caring for. And if physical limitations are your barrier, adapt. Pleasure does not have to follow old scripts. Maybe it's not about vigorous motion or intense sensation. Maybe it's about soft touch, gentle caresses, slow breath, simply being with your own body without rushing or forcing anything. The goal is not performance, the goal is presence. I had one patient, Linda, 70, who suffered from chronic back pain. She told me she thought her sexual life was over, even with herself, because of her physical limitations. But when we reframed pleasure as a spectrum, not just about genital sensation, but about whole body presence, she discovered new pathways. She used soft fabrics, scented oils, slow rhythmic breath, gentle pressure on her arms and legs, even just cradling her face and scalp. And gradually, she found her way back to that place of softness, of release, of relaxation. And here's the beautiful part, her sleep improved. Not just because of hormones or muscle relaxation, but because she stopped holding herself so tightly. She allowed herself to be a body again, not just a mind carrying pain. This is what I want for you. Not a return to some past version of yourself, but an arrival into the fullness of who you are now, a person who still deserves comfort, who still deserves rest, who still deserves the peace that comes from feeling whole. In the final part of this video, we're going to put this all together. I'll guide you through practical steps for integrating mindful self-pleasure into your evening routine, how to approach it with kindness and curiosity, and how to create a personal ritual that not only improves your sleep but strengthens your overall sense of well-being. Because you, my friend, are not finished. You are still learning, still healing, still becoming. And the best part? The keys to deeper rest, to calmer nights, to brighter mornings, they've been within you all along. Stay with me, because in the next part, we'll walk through this process together, step by step. And by the end, you'll have a roadmap not just for better sleep, but for a more peaceful, more vibrant life. Here we are, the part where it all comes together, where knowledge becomes action, and action becomes transformation. By now, you understand the surprising science. Masturbation in older adults isn't just about fleeting pleasure or a momentary distraction. It's a real, biological tool that helps regulate stress hormones, release calming neurochemicals, and prepare the body for deep, restorative sleep. But the truth is, knowing something and living it are two very different things. So let's talk about how you, in your real daily life, can begin integrating this practice in a way that feels natural, nourishing, and sustainable. I want you to start by dropping the idea of performance. This is not about how long you last, how intensely you feel, or how perfectly your body responds. This is about creating space for self-connection, a quiet, personal ritual that lets your nervous system unwind and your mind let go. Think of it like preparing a warm bath or making a cup of tea before bed. It's not the act alone that soothes you, it's the intention, the slowing down, the message you send to yourself, I am worth this time. I am worth this care. You might set aside 15 or 20 minutes before bedtime. Dim the lights. Make sure the room is warm and comfortable. Silence your phone. Let the world slip away. This is your time. Begin with breath. Place a hand on your chest or belly and feel it rise and fall. Let your breath slow, deepen. Then, without pressure, let your hands explore, not just rushing to the most sensitive places, but letting yourself rediscover what touch feels like on your arms, your thighs, your neck. Remember, the goal here isn't just release. It's presence. If you choose to continue to full arousal and orgasm, wonderful, enjoy the natural wave of endorphins, oxytocin, and prolactin that follow. But if you stop before that, or if your body doesn't respond as it once did, know that you are still giving yourself the benefits of relaxation, connection, and emotional grounding. The chemical shifts begin with arousal, not just climax. And if you encounter resistance, old voices in your head telling you this is silly, shameful, or pointless, meet them with kindness. Gently remind yourself, this is human. This is healing. This is mine. Over time, you may notice small but meaningful shifts. Falling asleep more easily. Waking up less frequently in the night. Feeling calmer during the day. Experiencing fewer racing thoughts when your head hits the pillow. Why? Because you're not just addressing sleep at the surface level. You're working with your body's own built-in systems for regulating stress and inviting rest. You're reactivating pathways that may have gone quiet, not because they were broken, but because they were waiting for you to remember them. And here's the best part, this practice isn't just about sleep. It ripples into your entire life. I had a patient, Charles, age 80, who told me after a few months of this practice, it's not just that I'm sleeping better. I feel more like myself again. I feel more patient with my grandkids. More present when I'm out in the garden. More alive. That's the magic. When you take care of yourself at this most basic, intimate level, it's not just your nights that improve, it's your days. You become someone who moves through the world with less tension, less fatigue, less quiet sorrow. You become someone who remembers, in your bones, that you are still a whole, living, responsive being, not just a body managing aches, not just a mind battling worry, but a human who can feel good, even now. So as we close this conversation, I want to leave you with this. You are not done. You are not too old. You are not beyond pleasure, beyond softness, beyond the quiet, healing power of your own touch. You are still here. You are still worthy. And you are still wired for rest, for comfort, for peace. If this message resonated with you, if you felt a little spark of hope, a little breath of possibility, I invite you to do 3 simple things. Click the like button. It helps more people just like you, find this message. Leave a comment below. You don't have to share personal details. Just let others know they're not alone. Even a simple "I'm here" can be a powerful gift. And subscribe to this channel. Because together, we're building a space where seniors can talk about the real things, health, vitality, intimacy, without shame, without fear, and without apology. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your courage to explore this conversation. And thank you for reminding yourself, and all of us, that the journey of caring for yourself is a journey that never ends, and never stops mattering. Tonight, as you lay down to rest, may you remember, you are loved. You are whole. And you are more than worthy of deep, healing sleep.